So here I've got two big stacks of solid vinyl PVC floor tiles. Durable, cost-effective, customizable and easy to lay. This stuff has everything that you could want from a workshop or garage floor. I'll be showing you the full process of how to lay it, and by the end of this video you'll all be able to lay a stunning workshop or garage floor yourself. Dusty, unsealed workshop floors. They're going to be a thing of the past after this video. These are the Duraflex floor tile range in black and in grey, so that we can make a checkered pattern. You'll see how awesome that looks in a minute when we start to lay them. And they come from a place called Garage Floors Direct, and they are a solid 7mm thick vinyl PVC floor tile. Now Garage Floors Direct did supply these tiles for my workshop, but I went and sought them out because I've used a product like this before and I know how good these are, and I wanted to show you guys how great they are in a workshop like this one. If you've been following my workshop series, link in the description, you'll have already seen that this is a pretty large workshop that I've built. It's 6 meters by 4 meters, and this checkered pattern is going to look awesome in a workshop like this. What we've got there is a row of tiles that I've laid out so that we can gauge what the cuts are going to be either side. We'll lay a row lengthways along the workshop as well, and if you look behind me there's a little gap here and a little gap over here, and we'll be able to slide the tiles left or right, and we'll be able to work out how much cut of a tile we want either side of the room. So you can see that took less than 2 minutes to lay one whole row of tiles in each direction, and now we can have a little play and see what the gaps are like either side. Because this is a checked pattern, what we don't want is small cuts or uneven cuts each side of the room. We want to measure those cuts to make sure they're nice and even. So if we look, we've got a little cut here, that's probably about half a tile, and we've got a little bit more over here, so that looks a little bit uneven. There's a smaller gap that end than there is down this end. Grab a tape measure, and we're just going to even up the gaps. So to the interlocking face from the wall on this side, we've got 430. We're going to leave a 5mm gap around the edge, but that doesn't matter at the moment. We just want to make sure we get these tiles centered. So we've got 430. We're going to do the same that end. So the gap that end of the room is roughly 100mm bigger than that end of the room. So if we shuffle the whole thing that way by 50mm and check again, we should be somewhere where we want to be. So check again. 390mm, and we've got 390 up this end as well. So that little shuffle weren't a bad guess at all actually. Shuffling them up 50mm has given us the perfect even gap on each side of the room. The setting out is always the bit with any tiling, PVC or ceramic or whatever tiles you're doing. That's the bit that takes the most time. And the next thing we need to work out are where the ramps are going to go. So I've got a long straight edge, and to work out where my door closes against the floor, I'm just going to draw a little line along the back of the edge from the guide rails on each side of the roller door. So by making a mark like that across the front, I know where the door is going to drop down. I want the door to drop down just before this ramp here. So I know that this face just needs to sit back from that line very slightly. So I think it wants to sit somewhere there. So I fit the ramp to the tiles, and then I shuffle the whole thing along until it meets the line. So I'm just going to start laying some tiles, get the bulk of this down. For clicking the interlocking sections together, you'll want a soft face hammer. So let's get the bulk of this floor laid. I reckon it's only going to take me half an hour max to do a 6 by 4 meter room, which is crazy. And then at the end, we'll go around and we'll do all the little intricate cuts, and I'll show you how we cut this stuff. So you can see how quick and easy this stuff is to lay. It literally just clicks together. It's taken me about half hour to lay the whole of this floor, and now all we've got is the cuts and intricate bits left around the edge. So I'm going to show you how to cut this stuff, how to do all the little intricate bits around the edges. Before I do that, make sure you're a subscriber because you don't want to miss out on some great videos I've got coming up. And hit like because that helps this video reach more people. So we've got nice even gaps all the way around the room for our cuts. The only intricate bit in this room is around the door, so we'll do that last. What we want to do now is fill in around the edges. So we'll cut all of these tiles and click them in around the edge. There's two ways to cut these tiles. One involves power tools and one doesn't. The one that doesn't is harder work. I'll show you that first, but it will save you money if you don't have power tools. So you can see our tile doesn't quite fit. We need to remove a section of this tile. So I've laid the tile in the space and I need a 5mm gap around any edges. The 5mm around the edge is to allow for expansion. That's the recommendation for these tiles. For me, it's not too bad because I've got an 18mm skirting board, so I could leave a slightly bigger gap if I wanted to, or even slightly smaller because I've got a gap underneath the plasterboard running around the walls. So I don't need to worry too much, but just make sure you've got a gap around the edge for expansion. To find out how much I need to remove, I just flip the tile over and then using my marker, I'm just marking the gap onto the bottom of the tile so I know how much to cut off. So the first method of cutting these tiles, the one that doesn't need any power tools, all you're going to need is a sharp Stanley knife and a straight edge. Now we've got a mark on the tile, I'll lay my straight edge across it. I'll run the sharp Stanley knife along the straight edge, probably about 3 times. So we've got a score mark along that tile there. I'm just going to flip the tile over, then I'll put some pressure on there and you'll see the tile will start to split. I can use my feet as well. There you go, you can see it's starting to split now. Now I'll grab my knife again and I'm just going to run the knife along the cut. So we can just slice the tile. And you can see, using a sharp knife like that does make a nice cut, but it is a lot harder work. The other way of doing it, we could just take a measurement of the cut that we want. We'll then transfer that measurement onto the tile and use a straight edge to give ourselves a line to cut along. There's 2 power tools you could use to cut this stuff. The first one is a jigsaw with a fine tooth blade on it. A nice laminate blade would go through that really easily. Or you could use a circular saw or a track saw, anything really that you can get a straight cut with. This has got a Nesdale blade in it. These are super sharp blades and it'll go through this stuff really easily. Whichever cutting method you choose, you can then just use your hammer to lock the tiles together just like we did before. I found a little way that you can do loads of cuts really quickly. So if I just take my measurement of the cut that I want, because the walls are nice and square in my case, I really can just repeat this size cut all the way along the back wall of the workshop. So all I've done is marked out the 190 that I want for the cut and lay the tile on a nice long bit of grass, set the circular saw depth to the 7mm of the tile thickness. And by doing this, the blade can pass through by a millimetre or 2 into the grass and it won't cause any damage. And it also supports the saw and the tile so that we get nice straight cuts. And that's the quickest way to get lots of nice straight cuts, and then you can just go along with the hammer and interlock all those pieces. So the bits around the door are probably the trickiest bit of the job, and because this is quite a nice square room, there's not many tricky bits in here. I've got this little section that I've cut. What we're going to find is, even though it fits on this tile, it doesn't fit with the door ramp here. So I remove that section of ramp and then I'm going to cut it down to the edge of the door and reinstall it. So now we've just got this little section to infill here. The skirting board will cover most of it, but we want to continue that grey and black checkered pattern into this section here. I made that cut nice and tight so the piece fits perfectly, and once the skirting board goes on, you won't even notice. Speaking of skirting board, that's what we need to do next. We'll get that skirting board on and then we'll have a look at the finished floor. I've got the latest DIY guy competition for you. This is the latest and greatest Milwaukee M18 drill and impact driver kit. And this week, one of you guys can win this kit. It's brand new for just £1.20. The kit includes the drill, the impact driver, both batteries, charger and case. It doesn't matter how many tickets are sold, someone's guaranteed to win this kit. The competition will run for a month, but these normally sell out within hours or days, so go and grab a ticket, and I've kept the ticket numbers low to give you really good odds of winning. The competition is hosted over on Raffle. The link down below is in the description. You can find all the T's and C's and all that kind of stuff over there. If the tickets sell out, I'll put a sold out sign in the description. I'm glad you guys have been enjoying the competitions so far. Thank you all for entering, and make sure you get your name in the hat for this one. Right, let's get back to this floor. So to finish the look off, I've got a bunch of square edge skirting board. I'm going to measure the lengths, cut them on the saw. Then I've got an 18 gauge nail gun or pin gun, and I'm going to pop round and just nail them all to the wall.
Looking like a thunderstorm, here we go, You're easy to remember, so hard to forget. Baby, it's a cowardly strut. How could I not worship every inch your feet have touched? Baby, run away with me. You kill it lonely. You make my eyes unsee.
And now it's had a good old mop, check out how good that looks. In fact, I'm wearing socks because it's almost too nice to use as a workshop. I've just got the skirting boards to cork and paint, but I'll do them a little bit later. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you have, hit one of these because you're bound to enjoy them as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Looking like a thunderstorm,